The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Mick Shots.
Streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
And here we are for another edition of Mick Shots, and there is so much going on at the Star in Frisco and elsewhere as we are now just over a month away, about a little over 5 weeks away, I believe, from the NFL draft and NFL free agency. We're deep into that, and the Cowboys have added some players, several players to the team since we last spoke last Tuesday. I'm Bill Jones with Mickey Spagnola inside the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star in Frisco. Everson Walls will be joining us shortly. Mickey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Bill, and yourself. It looks like today seemed like things back to old times here at the Star. I saw the helicopter fly in, transporting Jerry Jones into the facility, and when I showed up, I could see about a dozen guys on the field either rehabbing or starting to do some aerobic training with the strength and conditioning staff out there doing some running and different type of stuff. So, yeah, kind of getting back to old times out here.
Yep, that's right. And we're less than a month away from the start of the official off-season program for the Cowboys, which I think is around April 19th or so this year. The other thing that is refreshing to see, I'm watching on the NFL Network scenes from the Alabama Pro Day. Reportedly, Mike McCarthy is there. And that's my point. It's refreshing to see coaches out on the road at pro days. And, you know, Mickey, Alabama's got so many NFL prospects. They not only have a pro day today, but they have another pro day coming up also.
You have to have two pro days. You know, and the key thing about these pro days is I think everybody needs to remember they are basically replacing the combine. The NFL did not have a combine, and they basically said that the school pro days would replace that when they do the official measures and times and things like that. So I think I saw the NFL sanctioned 101 pro days, and so those will, as I said, take the place of the combine, and that's why you see a bunch of the coaches and scouts at these things, as many, if not more, than usual, because they got to look at these players and see where they're at this time in their lives. And the other thing that I noticed was taking place, Bill, is a lot of the places where guys would go to work out, like the Michael Johnson Training Center and things like that, where guys would get ready for the combine. Those places are having their kind of pro days, but the NFL is not allowing NFL personnel to attend those, so they'll have to put those results out for everybody to see. So a lot of things changing, getting ready for this draft, but maybe it looks like there'll be actual people at the draft this year, unlike last year when it was all virtually Zoomed, including the commissioner announcing the picks from his basement. Sounds like he will be in Cleveland. They're going to allow people to watch the draft. So things are kind of moving a little bit closer to normal.
Yep, and that's great to see. And the other thing that they've taken some of the things that they had to do by necessity last year in preparing for the draft, like the Zoom interviews, WebEx interviews with the prospects, and they're still doing that this year. And there were as usual, over 300 combine invitees this year. And as far as the interviews that the teams do with the players, that's being done virtually, and Jerry really seemed to like the virtual interviews last year. Hey, we got Everson Walls.
Hey, look at there.
I was wondering when you guys were going to acknowledge me. Thank you very much. Oh my goodness.
We had to wait to see
what's going on.
We had to wait to see your picture show up before we knew you could talk to us.
Hey, when you talk about it, you have horrible CP time when you wake up early and still late. That's bad.
It's great to have you here, Everson. We missed you last week.
Thank you very much.
And a lot has transpired since the last time you were with us a couple of weeks ago.
And Andy's gone. Andy's gone, right?
That's right. Yep.
And our free agent signings still suck, right?
Yeah, depends where you're getting your information from, right?
This could be interesting.
Yeah, there you go. I want to hear what Spags got to say. He couldn't fuss at me last week, so it was all on you, Bill. I want to hear what he's got to say this week.
Well,
things were just starting to happen last week.
Right.
Now things have happened, and things are still happening. Mickey, before we dive in to what's happened in the last week, bring us up to speed on what's going on there. I understand today and tomorrow as a couple of safeties are making their way to the Star in Frisco.
Yeah, they still, even though they agreed to terms or got a contract done with Keanu Neal, is that how you say it, or is it Keanu?
No,
I messed it up.
It's got to be Keanu, right?
Keanu?
Just like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I corrected myself. Keanu Neal.
There you go. All right.
Who's a box safety. They're still supposed to have visits this week with free safety Malik Hooker and DeMonte Kazee. So another Falcon that played for Quinn, just like Neal did. So they're trying to come up with very conservative contracts for these veteran safeties, which they needed some depth at the safety position. If you look at, because if they weren't going to sign Xavier Woods back, they basically had Wilson, and that's about it. So they needed to restock that safety position. So I would imagine with those two visiting, at least one of them will probably be signed or try to agree to terms with those guys. And if you've noticed what they're doing on the majority of these contracts, they're all basically one-year deals, kind of one-year prove-it deals for guys that were sitting there in free agency and maybe coming off of I muted my phone and it's ringing. Why is that?
I'll take up where you left off. Coming off injury, and that.
This is what happens.
You're being docked on your own show, Spagnuolo.
This is what happens when you get a new phone, right? When you're forced to get a new phone because your other one's not working. I thought I muted it, and evidently I didn't. So there's a lot of things I'm learning.
We can all agree this is what it happens when you're 60-something years old.
Oh yes, and a new phone. Oh, too many gadgets. Too many gadgets for an old man like Spagnuolo.
I guess instead of muting it, I must have turned it up, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So tell me about these two DBs, guys. I mean, you got three safeties coming in. I got to weigh in on this. I mean, oh my God, all of them, what is this? All of them have Achilles problems. What are we doing here?
And both of them, and that's why
I just don't understand.
Hey, safety has been the Achilles heel of this team for how long?
Very, very well, Bill. Thank you so much, Bill, because it will continue to be that way. First of all, I don't know how fortunate it is for us to bring in three. Is it all three from the Falcons?
No, Hooker's from the Colts.
From the Falcons. The Colts, yeah.
So, Hooker not bad, but you got two guys coming in from the Falcons. Now, if I recall, God, Dak Prescott threw for almost 500 yards on these guys. That I do recall. These two safeties coming from that secondary, I don't know. They might be the only pass defense that was worse than ours in the NFL. So I'm not happy about this signing at all. Not to mention the fact that they might not even make it through.
Everson, what they're trying to do, they're hoping that this is the 2016 and 2017 version of the Atlanta Falcons. And
that was pre-Achilles. That was
exactly
pre-Achilles
right.
injuries.
That's exactly right.
And I don't know if they think that they're Kevin Durant or somebody, but unless they are, they're not going to come back from Achilles injuries, and that's not their only injuries that I'm concerned about, because I think they've got ACL problems. It's just a plethora of injuries just from these three guys that we signed.
That's why.
And you talk about signing one-year deals.
Okay, hold it.
Yes, sir.
That's why they're available, and that's why they'll sign one-year deals for $1.75 million.
That should be cumulative, Spags. Okay, that should be cumulative.
So
all three should just add up to 1.75.
When you don't have money against the salary cap, you got to do bargain hunting and hope, right? It's not like they're signing these guys to solve problems. They're hoping, that they can come back.
Right. You got that right.
And that's all they can afford.
They're not signing to ever.
That's all they can afford.
Hey, man.
Okay.
Why is it the secondary is always that position that is so low priority? And when we see all the good teams in the playoffs, they all had great defensive play, and especially from their secondary. At least they have guys that can make plays. Winfield with Tampa Bay, a guy that's back there making plays. Young at that. And I know, yes, he's a first-round draft pick, and he's got the pedigree and all of that from his pops. I get that, but I don't know, guys. That's still money down the drain for me, Spags. That's still money down the drain for me, Spags.
That isn't money down the drain, because most of it, they're not getting signing bonuses. So, or if they are, that's signing bonuses that they can deal with if they don't make the team. You forgot my point about Dan Quinn. He's supposed to fix everything. All right? And so the pressure's on him to make a difference in this defense.
He's bringing in all his friends. You can't bring in all your friends. He's bringing in people that he knows, and those people that he knows, they aren't. I'm not going to say they aren't worth what I was going to say. They just seem to be such a wasted pick. I wouldn't even say it's a lateral movement in regards to these situations. Otherwise, are you bringing them in just for training camp? Are you bringing them in to contribute at all? Because I don't see, to me, it's just like the same thing we've been going on over and over again. We are signing, just like you said, Spags,
all right,
and
so
hoping.
What would you suggest? Because none of these...
I would suggest you go out and get better players.
None of these deals will preclude them from drafting a safety. All right? None of them, the financial part of it... They need to draft
more than one safety.
Well, that's why they've got one signed and two visiting.
Oh, my God. And not only that, if we're talking about what we had, I would rather keep Woods than to sign these three guys. I would rather keep Woods than to sign those three guys. To me, that, just leave well enough alone in that regard, and if you have that luxury to do that.
And you don't know that they don't want to keep him. Maybe Woods is looking out there in free agency and saying, okay, I need more than a one-year deal. I want to see if I can get a multi-year deal and play the field here before making a decision.
And once again, that's just the lesser of the evils for me, Spags. Still, that's the lesser of the evils. And yes, you asked me what I would do. First of all, I would have to know what's out there. Okay, I would have to look at what's out there. I have not looked at what's out there, but
there's not much.
I would have to say, are they all injured? Do they all have Achilles? I'm sure you can find some that have a good Achilles.
Here's the benefit of these guys that have the Achilles. They did it early in the season, September. So they should be ready. They should be ready to go. Hey, I'm jogging on the treadmill now. I'm jogging on the treadmill, right? Okay. And these these guys are 40 years younger.
Bill, I get it now, Bill.
These guys are 40 years.
I get it now, Bill. These are all his Achilles brothers. I get it now. I can't even argue with him because I have good Achilles. So continue, Spags. Yes, sir.
They're 40 years younger and they're professional athletes, so they should be far ahead of my rehabilitation.
Oh my! I hope we're not comparing them to your rehab. That would be a bad move. That's a low bar.
I hope we are not comparing them to Mickey's athletic ability, even in his prime.
Please don't say that.
Yeah, well, the other thing we're not comparing him to is my salary either, okay?
All right. I think what we ought to do, we need to separate the two that are visiting with the one who has already signed. Okay. And the two that are visiting are Malik Hooker, who's a former first-round draft pick of the Colts and had the Achilles injury in the third game of the year last year. And then DeMonte Kazee, who was a fifth-round draft pick in 2017, was not a starter on their Super Bowl. The team that went to the Super Bowl for the Falcons has been since and had the Achilles last year. And so those guys, and the reason that they're visiting is because they need to check out where they are as far as their Achilles are. That's probably the most important part of their visit, is for the Cowboys to take a look at them and see where they are.
So, right, Bill,
now,
Hooker.
Let me say this. Let me say this to just go ahead, Spags.
So Hooker played 2 games last year. He had torn his ACL in 2017, and then ruptured his Achilles after playing 2 games in 2020. Now, Kazee, in 2018 and 2019, had 10 interceptions. All right? 10 interceptions. And he only played 4 games last year before he ruptured his Achilles. So, and he was just a 5th-round pick of Quinn in 2017. Started 1 game in 2017 as a rookie, 15, and then the next 2 years, he started 29 of 32 games with 10 interceptions, by the way. 7 in 1 year. I would imagine the Cowboys don't have anybody on the roster with 7 interceptions for their entire career, right? So it's worth taking a look at these guys and see where they're at.
Heath is already gone. Heath was the closest to that, and he's already gone.
Right, absolutely. and everybody wanted to move away from Jeff Heath, right? Wasn't good enough. And you probably would have liked Jeff Heath back on the team last year after Clinton Dix failed miserably in training camp. So if you look at these 2 guys, they've had previous success in their careers. Now you just got to take a look at them and say, okay, we're not investing big bucks on you in free agency. But if you look at what was available at the safety position in free agency, it wasn't that much. And it wasn't that much to get you all excited. And if you look at the draft, the best one probably is the kid from TCU, and he's probably no better than 30th pick in the draft. So, again, you're nibbling because you don't have enough money to be able to afford big-time contracts on a safety. And I'm not trying to demean the safety position, but when you've invested in your offensive line, your running back, your quarterback, your wide receiver, your defensive end, your linebackers, there's just not enough money to go around, especially when the cap dropped from 198 to 182 million.
I think what my concern is, while we're trying to move away from this culture of just giving up so many yards and so many big plays.
But wait, that happened last year. The year before, they finished 9th in total defense. So tell me what changed.
I don't even remember that.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to help you out.
So many yards running. Well, thank you. We have given up so many yards as a defense. And where I was going was, You bring in guys from another team who's just as bad. And you understand what I'm saying? Yes, the Cowboys deal, okay, you can talk about 2 years ago, but last year was so prevalent, it was so bad, it was ridiculous. So now, okay, we're going to improve our pass defense, and we bring in guys from a team that might have given up more passing yards than we did. I just don't see how their mentality coming in, whether we sign them or not. I don't care if it's the one already signed or the two we're bringing in. They still don't even. They
didn't play last year.
The guy got 10 interceptions.
They didn't play last year for that team.
And do you think that they would make a difference? Do you think they would have made a difference in that team?
That's why.
Do you truly think they made a difference in that team?
Well, okay, so Cincinnati signed Chidobe Awuzie for a pretty hefty contract, right? From a bad defense.
Yeah.
So what were they thinking?
Right.
3 years, nearly $22 million.
Who signed him?
Cincinnati.
Who signed him? Yeah, they deserve him. They deserve him. I'm sorry, guys. We go through the same thing every offseason.
All I'm asking you is what changed last year from the team that finished 9th overall in defense to 24th and finished 11th against the run in 2019 and finished 31st in 2020. What changed? Well, let me ask you this. What will change between last year's defense and this year's defense? There was nothing I can see that's going to improve us. Those guys we signed, I can't see it happening from the secondary standpoint. I just really was hoping, because we go through this every offseason trying to salvage a secondary. Every offseason we try and salvage a secondary, and every offseason, Spags, you and I sit up here on freaking Tuesday morning or Monday morning quarterback, and we're like, oh, well, man, the guy could have made a play, but he didn't make. Oh, man, I'm so tired of hearing how things could have gone in one way, but they didn't because of one particular situation. I want guys that's going to come in and make plays and let them dictate our success as opposed to these flukes that we've been looking at for the last 3 off-season, Spags. You and I have been having these same back and forths. Okay, so
Doesn't it sound familiar?
Here's how you solve it, right? Get you an Ed Too Tall Jones out there to rush the quarterback. Just rush the quarterback, right?
I gotta say, guys, even if we rush the quarterback, I don't see our secondary coming up with anything different than what they've already had. Even if we rush the quarterback. Even if we do.
We need to
Have you seen anything in our secondary that showed you that if we were to have a rush, things would have been different if we had a rush? You're going to tell me you saw that last year. I don't believe you did.
This was the most miscombobulated, organized defense I think I've ever seen, right? So your hope is Dan Quinn makes a difference. And I have to make a difference now because we lost Bill and we need to go to break here on Big Shots on DallasCowboys.com.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Just like all of you, we at SeatGeek can't wait until we're back in the stands at full strength cheering on the Cowboys and singing along to our favorite songs again. We're using this time to make discovering, buying, and selling tickets to events in Dallas easier. Plus, every ticket purchased on SeatGeek is protected by our buyer guarantee, which means you'll get your money back or better if your event is canceled. Guaranteed. Download the SeatGeek app today, and when the time is right, let's go. SeatGeek.
Back to Mick Shots.
The Star District is the perfect place for the whole family to enjoy. Support local Frisco businesses by visiting us to dine, shop, and explore the Dallas Cowboys themed campus. For information on all the Star has to offer, visit thestardistrict.com. The Star District. Good
job, Bill.
Well, the Star District has hosted some basketball here in the last week.
So. I did not know that.
That's right. Yeah.
Conference USA, was that who had their tournament here?
That's right. Yep.
That's how North Texas got into the big dance.
That's right. Yeah. They won 4 straight games there at Ford Center at the Star in Frisco.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, and then how's your bracket looking, by the way?
You know what?
Every bracket has been busted as of last weekend.
The left side's doing really well. The right side got wiped out.
I think they said this weekend every bracket was busted. Every bracket was busted.
You know what? Started to bust my bracket got busted first off when Ohio State lost on Friday. Ohio State was one of my national finalists. And then what really busted my bracket was when somehow, some way, Everson, the Oklahoma Sooners beat Mickey's Missouri Tigers in the first round game.
It was only going to be 1 point, Bill, because either one would have lost the next game, as Oklahoma did, by the way, in a no-compete contest against Gonzaga.
No, actually, the game. You probably didn't watch the game against Gonzaga, but it was actually one of their better games of the year.
No, I did watch it.
They played really well against Gonzaga, and then they still got beat by 16 points. That's how good Gonzaga is. So
Spags not going to give you no love, Bill. Spags is not giving you love.
Not after he had to bring it up that way, right?
Hey, it was good for me to see some HBCUs in there. Loving Texas Southern, getting off in there, doing some things, representing the swag. It's always good, though, whether you lose or not. You got certain guys on these teams like University of North Texas where you saw individual players that really stood out and really got the recognition that they deserve from some of the smaller schools, the HBCUs and the North Texas schools. So that's always good to see in the tournament, to see how one of those kids can match up against a superstar team like Gonzaga or some of those Power 5 schools. So good to see them just get in there and represent just a little bit.
Even Abilene Christian,
they
right?
Do well. That's right.
Abilene Christian. My nephew went to Abilene Christian, so he was bragging over my brother who went to UT. So he had dibs over his uncle for this weekend alone.
Yep.
And I'll tell you one last thing on that, Bill. When you talked about my saving grace, the only hope I had is that my sleeper to make it to the championship game gets to the championship game, right? And in the second round, in the second half, with about, 8 minutes to go, Houston's down by 15 points. And I'm going, okay, this is over with. And they ended up coming back and winning by 2, I think it was.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, they survived and advanced. That's right. And by the way, we had already made the decision on my Wi-Fi that since my provider, and I will not say their name, does not provide broadcast of Mavericks games, Stars games, or Rangers games, we were going to switch anyway, and now it's sealed since my Wi-Fi keeps going out on this thing. So that's about to be corrected. So
they will find out sooner or later, won't they?
All right, so, Mickey.
Yes.
What about the rest of the free agent haul so far? We've talked about the safeties or the lack of safeties. What do you make of what sticks out for you, what the Cowboys have done so far, whether it's comings or goings at the start?
Well, the going that kind of stuck out for me is the fact, and we knew this was probably going to happen, but you kind of hope that, well, maybe it wouldn't, that you can hang in there and, and somebody will just pass him by. Losing Andy Dalton the way they lost to it's just like Chicago, yeah. And you just knew somebody was going to give him a deal 1 year to make $10 million with an opportunity to make $3 million more in incentives. And you just hope somebody didn't look at him as a starting quarterback, which they should have, by the way, for teams that need a quarterback or a quarterback to be a bridge to maybe somebody you picked in the first round of the draft this year. So that leaves the Cowboys somewhat in a lurch at the backup quarterback spot, because the way I looked at it, Andy Dalton was probably the best backup quarterback the Cowboys had since Steve Berline. I mean, you got somebody else you want to, tell me that, was better with more experience than him? Because even when Tony Romo took over, he had played, no games before he took over in that 2006 season. So at least you had a veteran guy. I don't think that they're going to, unless somebody falls in their lap for another kind of prove-it deal like Andy Dalton was looking for. Do you feel good about, Garrett Gilbert, Ben DiNucci, Cooper Rush?
No.
Because that's where you're at right now, right?
No.
Yeah, you are. That's it. What do you guys think about reading all kind of stuff? This would probably make Spags mad, but I'm going to bring it out.
That's why you're here, Everson.
And just remember when you say this stuff. There's a salary cap, okay? Don't forget there is a salary cap. Just like Bill has a salary cap at his household when he buys internet, okay?
Yeah, right, Wi-Fi, right. No, just really almost we don't have a whole bunch of money out there, obviously, to be signed as sentimental signings, but, Alex Smith was brought up as far as a guy that could be an inspirational backup for Dak Prescott. He's got the experience, been through a lot. I don't know how that leg is doing after last year, but, he was inspirational, I have to say. Never was a big fan of his until I saw what he went through and coming out on the other side. Not sure what a signing for him would take, but what do you think about that inspirational signing, Spags?
Again, what's he looking for? How much do you have to pay him to convince him to put himself back out there? From an experience standpoint, to bring in a bus driver who doesn't probably need a whole heck of a lot of practice. For a couple $1 million, I can afford that. But I really can't afford that much when you look at the Cowboys' cap right now and what they have left.
Right.
It's anywhere between $10 and $12 million, and their rookie pool for 10 draft choices is $10 million. So, number one, they won't use all 10 of those draft choices. They'll be trading around if they need to move up. But number two, if that's all you got left, you're going to have to restructure a couple more contracts just to do business for the coming year. So again, it comes down to, can I get a sweetheart deal for not much, right? You bring in a guy. So then, and Bill brought it up last week, you're looking at guys like Chase Daniel, a career backup, right? Who, not bad coming in for a game or finishing a game or starting a game. But if you need somebody to start 3 or 4 games in a row, I don't know if that guy's out there.
Tell you what, now you're looking at that's a Mizzou guy, right? Was Chase at Mizzou?
Sure is, yes. And there's another one available too.
Best player in Missouri football history, right, Mickey?
Yes, absolutely. And Blaine Gabbert's out there also.
They're going to retire his number there. Yeah.
Well, he's also from the Big 12, so I know Bill's going to show him some love if he comes here. So.
Eddie's from South Lake. On top
there you go. That's what I'm saying. That's one of Bill's guys.
Everson. Everson, Mickey and I, let me tell you the Chase Daniel story. Mickey, in the early days of the Cowboys channel, back in 2003, 2004, this is before the NFL Network came along, the Cowboys put together it was with Comcast Cable, they put together a Cowboys channel. I was working for them, Mickey obviously was as well. And we actually did a high school football game from Texas Stadium. It was a state playoff game. It was South Lake Carroll against Denton Ryan. And it was Chase Daniel's senior year at South Lake Carroll. This would have been 2004. And so Mickey was the analyst on the broadcast. Well, he goes down on the field before the game because this quarterback for South Lake, Chase Daniel, had committed to Missouri, but he had heard how short he was, and so Mickey went down on the field because he wanted to stand up next to him and see just how short Chase Daniel really is. And Mickey, you can take it from there.
And he was short, by the way.
How short was he?
Well, I didn't have to look up very far to see him eye to eye. Okay,
wow.
And he goes to Missouri and was probably one of the best quarterbacks in the history of Missouri football. And
I enjoyed watching him in college. I did. He was good.
He was Mickey.
Yes.
Mickey. He wasn't probably one of the best quarterbacks in Missouri history. He was the best quarterback.
Well,
in Missouri
you don't remember the '70s, probably.
He's better than Phil Bradley.
That's debatable. That is debatable.
Wait a minute there, William. Wait a minute there. I remember Bradley. Bradley was a beast. He
didn't do what Chase Daniel did in Missouri.
Well, from a winning standpoint, no, he did not.
What do you base it on?
He was awfully good, and he set all the records at that time in that era.
He set the tone, Bill. He set the tone, Bill.
All right, but get off Chase Daniel
for setting the tone.
All right, get off Chase Daniel to the Cowboys though, because Chase Daniel likely is going to the Chargers, where Joe Lombardi is the offensive coordinator, and Lombardi was the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach with the Saints, and when Daniel was there, and so Daniel is going to go be Justin Herbert's backup with the Chargers. That's my prediction.
Okay? All right.
Let me throw a name out here as a veteran guy who's kind of the same ilk as Chase Daniel. That is A.J. Mccarron, who is a free agent. A.J. Mccarron, who has not started very many games in the league, but he did get a chance as Andy Dalton's backup with the Bengals, but most recently he's been with the Texans. And the connection, of course, with the Cowboys is Doug Nussmeier, the Cowboys quarterbacks coach, who was the quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator at Alabama for 2 years when A.J. Mccarron was there. If you're connecting the dots of the quarterbacks and the free agent quarterbacks out there, there's a connection right there, A.J. Mccarron. Now, Mccarron, I believe, made $4 million last year as Deshaun Watson's backup in Houston. The Cowboys are not going to pay $4 million for the backup quarterback spot here. But if Mccarron, as he's testing the market right now, if he sees, okay, I'll take whatever the Cowboys offer an incentive-laden deal, and they can do that and it's not going to affect their salary cap, he would be a guy that I would throw out as a possibility as being a veteran guy. What do you think of A.J. Mccarron?
That is, if Houston doesn't say, boy, in the situation we're in, we may need to sign him.
We might need him. They might need him. Yes, thank you. That's what I was going to say, Spag.
But they got Tyrod Taylor.
That's true.
They signed Tyrod Taylor. And so if they're the next starter at Houston, depending on what happens with Watson, is Tyrod Taylor.
And that's a good point, Bill, on A.J. Mccarron. And that's kind of, you bring him in here, let him compete with Gilbert. DiNucci can still be the third guy. He didn't get an offseason last year. But that's what you're going to have to settle for. Sort of like the safety position. That's what you have to settle for because you just don't have a lot of money in free agency to go sign somebody to a big deal. And I'll be very interested to see, the defensive end, Terrell Basham, that they've agreed to a deal with, and it keeps getting publicized as 2 years, $6.5 million, but we have not seen the inside numbers yet. So, like the deal for Neal was, everybody was 1 year, $5 million, right? Well, when you look at how they structured it, it's basically the first year's cap hit is $2 million. They gave him a $3 million signing bonus with 2 more years of voidables. So from a cap hit, he's basically $2 million against the cap this year with a $1 million base salary. So I'd be interested to see what Basham's deal is. It's basically going to be a 1-year deal, $4 million, and we'll see how they had it structured. So if you see what the Cowboys are doing, they're nibbling because that's what they have available against the salary cap. And they still have to restructure a couple more contracts going forward to create enough money for the rest of the year. But if you can get Mccarron for 1 year, $2 million, $3 million with incentives, that would be a great deal. That's what they have to settle for.
All right, as far as the other signings, you mentioned Basham, and as an edge rusher. Brent Urban is another one, defensive lineman who was most recently with Chicago, prior to that Baltimore. And then Carlos Watkins, who is with the Texans, an inside defensive guy. Yeah,
and if you look at Brent Urban, I think he's kind of the gadget guy inside. He's 6'7", 295, did play defensive tackle, probably could play on the edge. I think he replaces Tyrone Crawford. I think Crawford is close to saying, I think this probably enough. But they signed him for 1 year, $1.75 million. He gets a $1.25 million base salary with a $500,000 signing bonus. So if he comes in here and can't play, well, you just wasted $500 million, but the base salary you would get back. So he's kind of a rotation guy. Same thing with Carlos Watkins. 1 year, $1.75 million. His signing bonus was $400,000, and his base salary $1.1 million. So again, you're gambling $400,000, basically to say, well, maybe this guy can make it, right? Maybe he can help us out. So those are the kind of deals that they've been trying to put together to bolster the inside for them. And the same thing with the offensive tackle bill, Ty Nsekhe from Arlington, by the way. He's going to be 36 years old. He kicked around in the Arena League, the Canadian Football League, and then ended up being a nice backup guy, ended up with the Bills, and he signed basically the same type of deal. So to me, anything better.
What about this Brent Urban guy? What about Brent Urban? Have we talked about him, Brent Urban?
Yeah, we did. That was the first guy. Yeah, we mentioned. Yeah, Brent Urban. And so those are the kind of guys that they're kind of bringing in right now. They decided to go a different direction at long snapper. Signed Jake McQuaid, had been with the Rams, so Fossil was, certainly knew about him. Now, you traded a 40-year-old deep snapper for a 33-year-old deep snapper, and I guess the money's probably the same because LP Ladouceur wouldn't cost the Cowboys much at all. He kept playing these last couple of years on the veteran minimum, the veteran exception minimum. So that's what they've done so far in free agency, and that's why the Twitter feed is all filled up with complaints like Everson's was because they're nibbling and they're not bringing in big-time guys. And that's why the title, the headline to my column last year is, well, we're back at March Madness, and it ain't the March Madness you think it is, right?
It ain't that. You are so right.
Okay, that leads me to my tease for our last segment. What is it that will get Everson and the rest of Cowboys Nation excited about the Cowboys defense going into the 2021 season? What needs to happen for any excitement to be generated when Mick Shots continues in a moment?
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Ah, music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. When there's work to be done, a real workhorse can make all the difference. Like the Range Boss package. Our 5075E John Deere 75 horsepower tractor features a bell spear and loader and starts at $369 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. It works like a horse, so you don't have to.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now, let's get to work.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Back to Mick Shots.
Get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now and get your exclusive fan pack and member benefits. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details.
All right, very good. Mickey just keeps getting better and better with his reads.
You think so?
You think, Everson?
You think so?
Just give me a couple more
Everson
years.
Seems to be doubting it.
Give me a couple more years. I'll have
so?
it down. I'll have it down in a couple years.
All right. I asked a question before the break about what can get Everson and the rest of Cowboys Nation excited about this Dallas defense. Let me say this, though, before we get into that, about Keanu Neal. And, Mickey, let me ask you, how do you think, in contrast to the other safeties, Kazee and Hooker, that the Cowboys have brought in with their Achilles injuries just last season, well, one thing about Keanu Neal is that he has come back and played an entire season after both his ACL and his Achilles. Last year he had 100 tackles for Atlanta. He had 9 tackles for loss. And so he has done something since his major injuries. The thing that intrigues me about Keanu Neal not only is the fact that prior to his injuries, his athleticism, he first-round draft pick and was productive his first 2 years in the league. In fact, he made the Pro Bowl in 2017 when Atlanta went to the Super Bowl. So he's done that, and he's got a year under his belt getting over those injuries. But what intrigues me the most about him, Mickey, is the possibility of the Cowboys using him as a nickel linebacker. What do you think about that? What have you heard about how the Cowboys might use Keanu Neal in this defense?
Well, yeah, and he's a box safety, and you're right. He had a pretty darn good season this past year. He's like a poor man's Jamal Adams, right? He's that type of safety. He's close to the line. You don't want him in coverage, probably. He started 14 of 15 games after coming back from a ruptured Achilles, had 100 tackles. Not a big guy for interceptions. He had one. But the one thing that I thought stood out to him, and, he was a former first rounder, 17th pick in the draft, and in his rookie season in the Super Bowl, he ended up with 13 tackles, 9 solo against New England. Unfortunately, it was that defense that fell apart the second half. But at least he did something. And you're right. He's big enough to be able to play the nickel linebacker spot. And that was one of the problems the Cowboys had. Jalen Smith should not have been out there on that nickel as the weak side linebacker when they went to 2 linebackers. He struggles in coverage, or just struggled, period, right? So it'll be interested to see if he is the type of guy that can do that, but he's not that big. I think he's like 225, if I'm correct.
Well, he's actually, he's listed more like 220, 216, something like that.
So yes,
but that is what's happening in this league with all the 4 receiver sets, and you're in nickel and dime so much that to have someone who can tackle, he's not Cam Chancellor, but he plays a lot like Cam Chancellor, and as far as being able to as a nickel linebacker alongside Van Der Esch, my question on it is, what we have seen throughout Jalen Smith's career here is there has not been a defensive coordinator willing to take Jalen Smith off the field and or find a role for Jalen Smith in a nickel. If you're going to put Keanu Neal and Leighton Van Der Esch as your 2 nickel linebackers, what do you do with Jalen Smith is my question.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. And we're talking about a guy that led the team in tackles the past 2 years, right? And I know everybody doesn't like his antics on the field, this and that, but you got to figure out how to play him. I'm not sure he's a weak side linebacker. I thought he did better in the middle, and Van Der Esch was probably better on the outside if he stays healthy. They tried to make that switch last year without an off season. It didn't work out so well. So I'll be interested to see, but I think a box safety, that's pretty good. I just don't want to see that nickel defense out there against teams with 2 fullbacks on the field, and I will leave it at that. Okay. Now, as to get excited, I'm taking that Everson didn't get excited over the Cowboys re-signing Jordan Lewis, their nickel cornerback.
Well, here's my thing. If you're going to use Jordan Lewis the way we used him last year, I am not in favor of that. Bill brought it up in regards to the nickel defense. You just brought it up in regards to the nickel defense on first down versus 2 tight ends or even 1 tight end.
And a fullback.
You're looking at a diminutive and a fullback. You're looking at a diminutive guy out there doing the best he can. Now, I disagree with you on one thing. I didn't like him against the run, but Spags, I did like him against the pass. He did decent in the slot. He's the only guy we have that can cover that slot guy. You're not bringing in Keanu Neal to be Jordan Lewis on pass in nickel. Right. You bring him in just in case they want to continue to be this stubborn team that wants to play nickel against 2 tight ends or a tight end and fullback. So if we're going to continue to do that, and I don't know if Quinn is a fan of that, then Keanu Neal would be the guy that would be a better fit against the 2 tight ends or 1 tight end and fullback. Yes, I do get that. In regards to Jalen Smith, maybe having Keanu out there, if he's able to do all the things we want him to do, and he plays as strong and plays that box safety like he did last year, then that might be a good thing for Jalen, because now he doesn't have to feel like he has to overcompensate for a guy out there who's 5'10", 175 pounds. So hopefully it will give Jalen an opportunity, or whoever that linebacker is, to have more of a straight line path to helping stop the run, to maybe even making an impact in the middle of the field, because now you've got Keanu Neal having a nice anchor out there against the 2 tight end and 1 tight end fullback situation. So hopefully bringing in Keanu, hey, I don't have to be a fan for it, but I'll give it love if it works. If you bring in Keanu to help anchor on that nickel defense, maybe Jalen Smith can have an opportunity to be more of a straight line player. Because when it comes to movement outside, he keeps getting cut off. And that's what I don't like. He keeps getting cut off by offensive linemen, and therefore they cave down the pursuit. If Keanu Neal can come in and anchor that better, then we might be looking at a totally different thing. If they continue to want to use nickel defense on first down, which I'm still not in favor of.
Okay, Bill, so what would get you excited?
Well, one more thing on Jalen Smith. I would like to see a coach come in here and just see if Jalen Smith can do anything as an edge rusher. I mean, we've seen him being used rushing the passer, but they were lining him up like in the middle, and without him being able to use any edge rushing ability that he might have. I don't know what kind of edge, but to your point, Everson, he's more of a straight line defender than he is playing in space, and so I would like to see him. If their plan is to have Neal and Van Der Esch as your 2 nickel linebackers, is the plan then have Jalen as an edge rusher? I'd like to see him at least experiment with that and see, but not as an inside rusher like what they were using under Marinelli.
The only downside on that, Bill, is who you taking off the field to make him an edge rusher. DeMarcus Lawrence,
that's right.
Randy Gregory. I ain't in favor of either of that.
No, that's right. Yep.
And when we go back to the original question of what really excites me, have we signed Aldon Smith yet?
No,
they have not.
Are we going to sign him?
No.
Are we thinking of signing him?
Does he want to re-sign? You know, you have to ask that question too. Or is he looking for? You know, how much is he looking for?
I always said, and you and I agreed on this, Spags, that moving Aldon Smith up and down the line and not having him in one place and being so isolated, that really did help not just his stats, but it helped the Cowboys' defense. And that's what's most important. When he's being moved around, they got a little bit confused on the other side of the ball in regards to how to block him. And it was somewhat effective in regards to how we played against the run. And I know we didn't play well against the run much at all, but when Aldon Smith was moving up and down the line, it gave their offense problems.
Keep in mind that probably Aldon Smith's biggest advocate in that room, the personnel decisions, is probably his biggest advocate on the coaching staff was Jim Tomsula, who had him in San Francisco, and Jim Tomsula is not here anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. So we'll see what happens with him. All right, Alabama Pro Day going on today. You talk about what might excite me as far as they got to do something at cornerback, obviously. And I think all signs are pointing right now to them really, I would say, if I put a percentage on it, Patrick Surtain, the Alabama cornerback, I would put it at 75 to 80% chance that the Cowboys are drafting him at number 10. Mike McCarthy's there today. I'm just reading the tea leaves on it right now. Here, over a month away from the draft, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Surtain is their pick. What would you think of that, Mr. Cornerback over there with 57 career interceptions?
I do not mind having a Alabama bookends in regards to cornerback position, but these guys, as we could tell with Trayvon last year, it's hard to be that Alabama guy when you don't have that Alabama front four, okay? And as Spags pointed out, if we could just get some pressure, it will make a big difference. But I want to see how players are going to play without that pressure. Can he come in and do well in that regard? We didn't see that from Trayvon last year. When we didn't have pressure, he didn't play well. So you have to be able to adapt, to that little adversity that you're going to have to deal with. You're not going to be able to squat down on the routes like you did in Alabama. You don't have the defensive linemen that we had in Alabama. We don't make the impact from the front four like they did at Alabama. So you better be ready to adapt to the situation and make sure that your game is conducive to being able to play defense and being able to play one-on-one for a long time. When I was with the Cowboys, as much as we had doomsday defense and we had Ed and Randy and John Dutton and Harvey Martin, when you have the flex defense call, they ain't going nowhere. I had to play defense back there for like 6 seconds because my defensive linemen were being handcuffed by the system itself. When you let them go, we're balling. But when they're not, we have to be back there and play disciplined, man-to-man defense, and that is tough to do for 4 or 5, 6 seconds in the NFL. So whoever they bring in, they better be ready to have their track shoes on and not get frustrated giving up deep inside plays throughout the entire season. That's what you better be ready for.
So, Bill.
Surtain is... Yes, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, go ahead on Surtain, and I got one more thing to say about it before we go.
Well, the other thing on Surtain is he's not running today. He measured 6'2", 208 pounds. So he's
nice.
that big corner. Yeah.
Nice.
The other thing that I like about
Bigger than his father. Right,
exactly. And, of course, his father played very well in the NFL at a very high level. And Surtain, he has been groomed to be an NFL cornerback since he first was tossed a football by his daddy when he was 2 years old. He came to Alabama and he started immediately. Trayvon was a receiver like his brother, Stephon, and converted to cornerback. He may have more upside from an athletic standpoint in his NFL career as far as being a playmaker. I'm talking about Trayvon. Mm-hmm. But Surtain was the better cornerback when they played at Alabama because of what all those things you're talking about, his discipline, his training as a cornerback and so far. I mean, it's kind of like he doesn't have the playmaking skills probably or on his resume as what Antoine Winfield Jr. had at University of Minnesota, but he was like Surtain, Winfield was trained out of the womb to be an NFL defensive back, and he showed it in his first year in the league. And so that would excite me about Surtain. All right, Mickey, close it out.
And here's what probably not excite the fan base. When I saw Bucky Brooks's mock draft, the second one, at number 10, after four quarterbacks were taken in the top 9, 2 offensive linemen and 2 wide receivers, and 1 corner, which was Farley, who, by the way, is getting ready to have microdiscectomy surgery for a ruptured disc in his back, and he's probably out until May.
Yeah, he's not going at number 10.
At number 10, Bucky Brooks gave the Cowboys offensive lineman Vera Tucker from Southern Cal, who I think he played a combination of guard and tackle, with Surtain still on the board, and also Micah Parsons, who he labeled as the best defensive player in the draft, a linebacker from Penn State, who didn't play last year, by the way.
That's your guy, right?
So I keep seeing this offensive line thing, and I just can't seem that they can qualify taking an offensive lineman if you think that Tyron Smith and Lael Collins are ready to go.
If you think, Spags, like
that's
you
right.
said.
And they should know. And by time April 29th shows up, they should know what sort of situation they're in. And both of those guys are out here running right now and don't seem to be limited.
Okay. Don't seem to be limited, but they've got the medical records, and we don't have the medical records.
Right, and that's why I'm saying.
Guys.
So if they do that, then we'll know that they have reservations about one or both, right? But if
that's true,
but
that's right.
If they think those guys are ready to go, that guy's going to come in here, and to me, again, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, if they have another injury at offensive tackle, Zach Martin immediately moves out there. He's my tackle. And I'll take care of the guard position, not wait like they did last year and let that position ruin an offense.
So, but if they have an injury at offensive tackle and they've drafted a guy with the 10th pick who's an offensive tackle, who's your offensive tackle that goes in there?
Well, he better be ready if I take him in the first round, right?
Exactly. And so that's where they got to do their due diligence on that tackle.
Exactly.
Where, okay, he's the guy now.
Because if they don't get hurt,
they
don't get hurt, that guy is he gonna challenge to be a starting guard? You know, at some point you can't have four first rounders on the offensive line. You've got to spread it around. And I can qualify a linebacker because after the two linebackers they have, who's the next guy up? That's what I thought.
Well, right.
Silence.
But you can also qualify.
Preach, man.
Mickey, you can also qualify an offensive lineman because
I told you who the next guy.
If they lose one.
The next guy up is Zach Martin.
He better be working again. He better be working for it, Spags. They have to be training him for it right now.
Connor McGovern, came on as a guard when he took Zach's place when he moved out to tackle.
Well, here's the other thing, and we're out of time, but we're way past time. The other thing on these draft picks, it's not solely about this year. It's the next 5 years. And so where are you with Tyron Smith next year, the year after, too? And but at the same point on linebacker, where are you at linebacker?
Yeah.
Exact same thing. Cornerback, the same thing. So it gets back to take the best player.
Exactly.
At the position that you can use them. Exactly.
And that's always been the Cowboys' philosophy, really, for a long time, even back to Gil Brandt,
and
taking the best athlete possible.
And if it's an offensive lineman, then they better trade back. This is the 10th pick in the draft.
Yep.
I gotta have DeMarcus Ware, right? He was 11th.
Yeah. Well, you got to have Tyron Smith. If that tackle is the 10th pick in the draft,
right?
It's got to be Tyron Smith.
And I don't want a guy that played guard that can play tackle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want a tackle that can play guard.
Right. Just like a guard, it's a 16th pick in the draft. He better be Zach Martin.
Right.
And that's who it was. Yeah. A center who's the 31st pick in the draft, he better be Travis Frederick.
That they traded back to get him at 31 to qualify.
Traded down, yeah.
That's true.
You got the receiver, Terrence Williams, who's, well, never mind.
Ain't it great that we figured all this out, but we needed 7 extra minutes, I see.
All right. That does it for Mick Shots. Wow. These off-season Mick Shots, we could go 2 hours.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Good job.
All right.
Good job.
All right. We'll talk at you again next Tuesday on Mick Shots.
See you guys.
Go Cowboys. Yes, sir.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.